Hi, we're the fairy Gothparents. My name is Yasmin, and Halloween is upon us, which means redoing last year's costume because it was made very last minute because I'm a terrible procrastinator and ADHD isn't helping me. So, the problem with last year's is one, the waistband was bad, and two, it was not sewn properly, and three, it was not full enough. So I removed the waistband. It took a lot longer than it looks in the video, and I started re-sewing what was already together. So this skirt is just a lot of black and white strips of fabric that I'm sewing alternating. I do a zigzag to stop fraying and then a straight line to hold the pieces more securely. And then after I finish masking my mistakes from last year, I start putting new strips because it wasn't full enough. Once I sew all the strips, I do a zigzag stitch around the rest. So the top and the bottom and the sides that are still gonna attach a zipper to it, just so it doesn't fray. This is a gentle reminder that you don't need the skills to start crafting. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I did end up with something. So if I can do it, everyone can do it. This is a very old machine. It only does straight and zigzag, nothing else. All the other configurations are just different sizes of stitches, but it's just zigzag and straight, nothing else. I do get a more expensive machine later because this one stops working, because that's the thing with sewing machines, they hate me. Then they stop working and I had to switch them, and for some reason they go back to life after a little cool down time. For the bottom of the skirt, I put a little bit of a green. It was not the right green, but it was the green that I found. It's a little lacy thing. You see a lot in teachers' aprons for some reason. And then I just stitch it to the bottom, right sides together, and then I turn around and did a top stitch so it stays flat. It was simple, but it added a nice touch. So I considered for a moment using last year's waistband, but it was very bad. So I just grabbed a random green fabric that I had laying around. It was very stiff. It was good for a waistband. And I measured how thick I wanted the waistband to be. I doubled it, added a seam allowance, and with a notch and a pull, I had a straight fabric. This is the easiest way to cut straight fabric, and I'm very bad at it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm ripping it apart. So we sew right sides together. First a zigzag stitch to stop fraying, and then a straight line so it's stronger. And then we turn the tube inside out. This fabric was stiff, but it wasn't stiff enough for a waistband, so I decided to add reinforcement by sewing straight lines in black and white. And there's the cat. This is Franciszek. He was keeping us company in the sewing room and exploring. So again, what I did as a reinforcement is that I ran black and white thread, alternating in straight lines. It may not seem like a lot, but just in the thread is enough to give it a little more stiffness. The cat had to be removed. It was very tedious, it took a long time, but it was worth it, and it was cute. I measured my waist and I found the middle of the strip for the waistband, and I used it to measure where would be my waist because I want this to be a lace up. You need to do a little bow instead of putting a button because I hate putting buttons. As you can see, I'm not a very skilled seamstress, so I take the easiest route possible. In this case was not putting buttons. I measure out my waist, I put pins to mark it, and then I slowly pleat everything in place. So the black and white is just where my waist would be, and I have to do a little plaids for that. I am not good at doing that. I just like to do it not measuring, which is bad practice, but it worked. Hey, it worked. Then I sewed a straight line to hold the pleats in place. And then I top stitch it down so it stays flat. Top stitching is one of those things that you have to do it even when you're lazy like me, because it makes such a great difference. And if I'm lazy then I'm doing it, you have to do it too. That's the rules. So what I did is I found the last strips and I measured the zipper and I sewed down from where the zipper would end until the end of the skirt. I am very bad at putting zippers. I'm not gonna explain how I did it. I have no idea. I just attached it somehow. There's a lot of useful tutorials. I've watched a bunch of them and I'm still bad at it, but it worked. And once the zipper is attached, it's done. The skirt, it was the hardest part. I did from scratch and it was done. And it was very cute too. And now there's the blazer. We thrifted this one. It was like $6 in local currency because our currency so far is very bad. And I used painter's tape to mask out the part that I didn't want paint on and to measure the width of the stripes. So I'm using fabric paint, and I wasn't too careful with the masking and I wasn't too careful with the paint. I'm a very messy painter. I'm very bad with drawing and using paint, and I know that about myself and I forgive myself for that. So although the masking wasn't perfect and there were some splotches in the wrong places, I did like the end result. It was very in character. And I complained a lot while painting this. It took forever and I had to wait for one part to dry to do the other one. And even waiting, I had some mistakes. But it didn't take me that long and it was a good result in the end. I had to repaint some details like the pocket. There's a pocket flap and when I taped it I didn't see it was under, so I had to redo that later. I used a scrap paper. It was an old pattern that I used and I am never gonna use it again. So I used to stop the paint from going to the other side. You can use anything. When I do the sleeves, I use cardboard tubes to avoid paint in the wrong side. And then there is the accessories. Beetlejuice doesn't have a lot of accessories, but I wanted to do a Lolita version. If you hadn't noticed before, I forgot to say the term. But yeah, so instead of a regular tie, I wanted to do a tiny bow with a little bit of a lacy thing. It's not lace, but it's lacy enough. So I just sewed together the lace to double in thickness and to have both edges finished. We lost the footage for the hair bow, but it was just the strips of white and black cut in half, and then I sewed it together just like with the skirt and did a little bow. That would be a clip on Lydia's, probably. Spoiler, that would be Lydia. And yeah, with the tie finished, everything was done. And I finished before Halloween, which is a first. So this is how it turned out. I used ties from Shane that I bought months ago, thinking about this specific costume, and a white shirt that it's old. It was my mom's and then it was mine. And here is me being weird. Thank you for watching. Sorry for the blabbering. See you in the next video.